From the KELOLAND Digital Desk, I'm meteorologist Scott Mundt, and this is Weather or Not, as we are looking at today for Thursday, November 13th. And here is a look at the outline. What's coming up on today's show? We are looking at possibly setting records for tomorrow with numbers in the 70s. Went ahead and raised Sioux Falls temperature to 70. The existing record is 71. So we're in the ballpark. There will be areas that either tie or set records, and we'll have a rundown of that coming up. And then it looks like it may become active as we do get into the second half of November. We are watching and trying to time a couple of systems that will run through. We do have a slight chance for showers on Saturday morning, not overly worried about those, mainly across northern South Dakota. Some cooler weather comes in for this weekend, but still above average. And then it's next week that we start to increase these chances for precipitation. And then Thanksgiving week. Hold on a second. Hold on. Thanksgiving week, we'll have to watch for some systems and some colder air, too. We'll have an outline, or an outlook, I should say, of what to expect as we do get into Thanksgiving Day, what one of the models are showing for temperatures. Temperatures for today will be above average. We'll have dry skies. You see that here on Futurecast. It's tomorrow that we'll have to watch our cloud cover because it is mid-November after all. So we need whatever sunshine we can get if we want to reach these high temperatures in the 70s. Again, that's the forecast high for tomorrow. Sioux Falls, 70. The existing record is 71. So we'll have to watch the cloud cover. And, of course, we'll play a role into how warm we do get, but as a cooler air comes in for this weekend, maybe even starting Friday night into early Saturday morning, you can see a couple of those scattered showers across north central and northeastern South Dakota. It looks like they do weaken as they move to the southeast. Our forecast for today, we'll have temperatures in the 50s and 60s. You do notice 71 in Phillip, 72 in Valentine, 73 in Pine Ridge. That's after having temperatures in the 20s for Pine Ridge. We'll make it up to 60 in Sioux Falls. We actually fell to the upper 20s as well in Sioux Falls this morning, 60 in Huron and 58 today. In Watertown tonight, temperatures fall to the 30s and 40s. Stay with us. There's plenty to talk about on this latest edition of Weather or Not. Welcome back to Weather or Not. We'll continue to follow these temperatures as we do get into tomorrow because we might be breaking some records. Sounds like we're breaking other things too, unfortunately. But yeah, we are looking at some heat to make its way in here for tomorrow, possibly setting some records. For that to happen, we need to hit the upper 60s, maybe the lower 70s. We're not quite that warm for today, as again, here is our forecast for today, showing those temperatures in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Notice the 70s showing up across western South Dakota. As we do get into tomorrow, that's the day that we'll have to watch to set records. We are looking at temperatures to eventually make the upper 60s, lower 70s for some, and this will happen with stronger winds too. We do anticipate stronger southerly winds, especially across south central, southeastern KELOLAND, to help these temperatures warm. You see our going high of 70 in Sioux Falls and in Huron, 65 in Aberdeen, 74 in Pierre, and 78 in Rapid City. As we look at the existing high temperatures, record high temperatures for tomorrow, it's 71 in Sioux Falls and Huron, both of those cities coming in at 70 on our forecast. But I went ahead and circled those areas that in the forecast right now can set or tie the record, such as at 72 in Pierre, 70 in Marshall, and 76 in Yankton. So again, we may be breaking some record high temperatures for tomorrow. So we'll continue to follow the record books. In the meantime, it looks like it will become active as we get into next week and continuing for the second half of November. And we'll be joined by meteorologist Brian Karstens coming up. Stay with us. You're watching Weather. From the KELOLAND Digital Desk, this is Weather or Not, and it's time to bring meteorologist Brian Karstens into the conversation about having some active weather for the second half of the month. You know, that's something that we haven't had, I would say, for a month and a half, 2 months, maybe even longer.
Yeah, we've had a nice, for the most part, a good cooperative fall for the farmers out there harvesting.
Yes, which is great.
It's been drier than normal for a few of us, not everybody. Certainly the differences are there. But yeah, we kind of labeled this a more active pattern this morning as we were on television talking about this. And the first thing I wanted to bring up, Scott, was the overall big picture with our temperature trend map. And as you mentioned, I think this is a really good idea that we bring up that the normal high, of course, this map shows us relative to average. Reds, oranges, we're talking 10, maybe 20 degrees above normal. Blues or other colors tend to signal the other way. So remember, normal high is going down quickly this time of year. We're into the 40s and dropping almost every day. But in the short term, we've acknowledged this big warm-up we've got coming up into the start of the weekend. Next week, what's driving a lot of this weather map, the patterns here, is the overnight low temperatures and the surge of Gulf moisture coming up through Texas, Oklahoma. So you're seeing that resulting in those deep reds and magentas. But I do think it's interesting, Scott, that the desert Southwest is cooler than normal, and that's because we have this repeated digging of these troughs. We've got at least 3 systems in the 7-day or close to that window. We'll see what happens.
Well, I know
after
you
that.
labeled them. You've been labeling them the past couple of days. System 1, System 2, System 3, up to 5 in 2 weeks.
I had 5, and I found 5, and I didn't want to go any farther than that. But I also think on this map, this is only one run of the European model, but when you see a temperature anomaly map like this, and you see that the colder colors stacked in the Pacific Northwest and the mild ahead of it, this should be an automatic in your mind. Anybody that watches programs about weather, that is feeding into a more active pattern for us. Now, that can mean a lot of things. Doesn't necessarily mean all these are snowstorms. In fact, they're not. But it does lend itself to these systems that will produce precipitation. Start there. We'll see what the temperatures are with each one of them. But when I see that, Scott, I definitely am kind of the antennas up a little bit. Kind of watching.
You're thinking a little more. I'm just looking off screen here, Brian. The average high in Sioux Falls, November 27th, Thanksgiving Day, is 39. That's 39. The average high.
Yep.
Okay.
And Thanksgiving can be all over the place. Some years it's close to 70 or 80. Some years, I remember, it wasn't that very much. I don't know what year. I can't remember the exact year, but I remember looking out and I'm like, wow, it's 17 degrees outside on Thanksgiving Day. And it hasn't probably been within the last 10 years. But yeah, that's how Thanksgiving goes. So system number 1, just acknowledge that. This is where we numbered these this morning. And look at next week. This is at the end of the 7-day forecast. Okay, so what do we have here? We've got basically a couple of lows. The jury's still out on how to handle each one of these. So don't get locked in to the geographical position yet on all of this.
And again, you're slicing the atmosphere in half. This is the
Correct.
500 millibar.
We're looking up at the mid-level flow. We're trying to identify the structure of these systems. And what we think will happen as we refine the data, get a little closer, the funneling effect takes over, and we get to lock in a little bit better on positions. But 7 days out, you just can't go there. But should there be 2 other systems out here? Probably. I think that's a fair statement. Certainly the modeling is very consistent on that. And also one other little bias here I'll mention. The European model sometimes will kind of drag these things out a little farther in the Southwest. So,
okay.
Then you have to decide, okay, well, then how is that going to be handled? Is that going to come towards us? Or like the System 3, for example, today, this shows it cutting loose and going way south into Texas. It does try to bend, though, back to Wisconsin. So, there's always a little bit of that in play there. And it's not just that. Then you got 4 and 5. Maybe this thing starts to sag south. You got the polar jet stream interacting here. Just keep an eye on it.
Yeah, we might have to get rid of that question mark.
Yeah, I think you're right. That was on there yesterday. I think it's safe to say. And, big old, what is that? A big old low up here Hudson Bay.
Getting close to Hudson Bay. Likes
Wow.
to drag down the cold air.
Look at
There's
this.
your Alaskan connection that I like to always go
Yes.
back to.
Look at that. And we all know how this works. If Alaska warms up,
We cool down.
Yep,
All that cold air needs to be displaced. And where does it put it? Puts it right in the northern central plains.
It's all this high latitude blocking. And years where we get blocks up here, that's another little clue. That should be a little button on your dashboard and a little light there that lights up and says, okay, well, let's see what happens here. A lot of moving pieces. Weather is complicated. It's not an easy subject, but it definitely. Oh, and then just to add to the conversation, look at that big high blocked over Florida. So you do have probably subtropical jet.
That high was farther west during much of the fall, and that kept us dry and that kept us warm.
It was.
Look what happens when it moves to the east.
Yep. You're right about that because that's what blocked that Gulf moisture. And now if you position that farther east like that off the coast of the Carolinas, subtropical jet, boy, if you phase any polar jet with that too, it's interesting. This is a little lopsided. That's out to Thanksgiving. So you're going to talk about Thanksgiving next segment a little bit more, right?
Yes, a little bit about Thanksgiving.
A little early yet, all the details.
Right. It's 2 weeks out from today.
Well,
people are making
that makes
plans,
it seem a
though.
little closer. 2 weeks.
People are making plans. We know that.
I better go to the grocery store.
Those are busy.
We're hosting.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Well,
Good.
we talked about that yesterday. You guys are hosting.
And we'll talk more about it, too.
Yeah. But
Coming
I know people when, you got to get your shopping list done early. So
that's what Melanie will do, print out a whole list. I got to get my list. Saved on the computer, prints it out, good to go.
I am going to get my pistachio pudding for the one dish that we make. I got to get that way earlier because last year I waited too long and then it was like, where is it at? Last minute dessert. I'm like, I want to make this, and then couldn't find it.
See, myself, I'm just in charge of the bird. I'm in charge of the turkey.
So you're just the turkey. Okay.
I'm just the turkey. Exactly. I like the way you put that too. But now we are getting.
I get in charge of that too, Scott, and I've learned a few techniques over the years on getting that already. But my kids aren't huge turkey fans.
Really?
Meat, they're okay with it, but I love it. I think.
I love it too. Right.
Yeah. So anyway, now that we've diverged completely away from
let's
the
get back
weather,
on track.
Yeah, let's go into the forecast. Well, here's that first system. Look at that rain. Actually, the second system, I should clarify. This is the one Wednesday. So the 7-day forecast. Interesting, isn't it, Scott? When you look at the Southern Plains, how many thunderstorms?
I wonder if SPC is going to come out with something.
I think there is going to be severe weather next week with that kind of flow in November. November can be a big month for severe weather in these southern states. So keep that in mind, too, because that can always play a role in how much moisture actually gets up here. But doesn't that look to you like a little more of a convective look across Iowa?
Yep.
I wouldn't be surprised if we have some mention of thunder and lightning at some point in something like that. Now, here's the low east of Colorado Springs. That's the mid-level flow. So then you take that out into Kansas. Now, it's an open wave again. When I say open, basically at this level, when we see those little lines there that move along, if they don't close into full circles.
Right, closed low.
Closed low would be when those those markers would close off into a complete circle. And then what happens then is it kind of slows down, or, you think of watching a flow of water in a river. It's kind of a situation like, it gets cut off from the mainstream. Mm-hmm. But this one, no, it kind of pulls out at this point, just lots of thunderstorms. Classic severe weather outbreak if that unfolds there, Scott. It's again a week out, but it's something that I'm sure we're going to continue to hear more about. And then you pick this up here, that's a weekend out. So the following Saturday, the 22nd of November, look at that.
Another one.
Yeah. And does it go that far south? Maybe it does.
And this is just one model showing that, and this is the European model that we're looking at.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then, of course, to top it off, well, then it gets busy
Thanksgiving
on the
week
north
there.
side.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And, for just showing you something else, I mean, that would obviously be a little busier Thanksgiving. But caution, don't get glued in on that yet. I would really emphasize anybody posting about this on social media out that far, don't get worked up about that. So many things can change between now and then. And we're here just to kind of guide you a little bit at a time, Give you what we know.
Kind of, if we see something, kind of plant it in the back of your mind.
Yep.
Think ahead.
And that's fine. That's
Don't
good
need to make
planning.
any decisions yet, but just keep something in the back of your mind if you see something or we see something that we're telling you about.
Absolutely. So, yeah, we'll be here every day of the when the program is on, of course, our regular broadcast too. You're going to talk about precipitation. I just wanted to end with this map, though. Look at the West Coast. Bombardment of Pacific moisture. So that tells us our fire hose effect is on. You've got Seattle, Portland, San Francisco, Los Angeles, probably a lot of precip coming for the Sierra Nevadas. And look at Arkansas, too. That Gulf connection there, these waves are really hammering at some precipitation.
And this is just a 1 week forecast.
That's
going
it.
Out next week.
Yeah, I just put this Sunday to Saturday next week. So it is pretty telling, even into Iowa. I mean, those are some decent amounts of moisture. So let's keep watching it.
It's picking up on that streak of maybe some thunderstorms in Iowa that we showed earlier.
Yeah,
A
absolutely.
little yellow showing up near Des Moines.
Kind of glad that, folks getting done with harvest. And, in Iowa, of course, a lot of the Corn Belt, it's been pretty good for crop weather, for harvesting. So if we get a wet pattern now, I guess, well, that's, a little more subsoil too. Sioux Falls could use some of it before the ground freezes. Honestly, Scott, if we got a couple of inches of rain at some point before the ground froze, that would
a
be...
couple inches of snow.
Well, we started with a couple of
inches. It melted down to a little more than a third, I think, of liquid precip.
Yep, and it helped. I noticed at my house it was good, but those roots, those plants, those trees need a little more water because they kind of ran out, at least locally around Sioux Falls.
Well, we'll try to bring some. This is a look at the next 14 days, so this is going 2 weeks out, and things do fill in for KELOLAND. You do notice how a lot of that fills in way to our south. Brian, you mentioned Arkansas, all the way through Missouri, central Illinois. There's that strip through Iowa. That's the European model. Now, what does it think for snow? Well, it tries to bring it in on November 19th, maybe, in the northern KELOLAND. And then as we continue through time, it fills it in again right before Thanksgiving. So, again, just plant that in the back of your mind. Things, of course, do change. But right now, we are looking at these systems to run through, including Thanksgiving week. Now, this one, Brian, I don't know if you remember this one from yesterday, the American model, it's already a lot different than what it was showing yesterday. It really painted a lot of the heavier precip in western, southwestern South Dakota. Now it looks a little drier into that area. So again, that's just a prime example of how these things do change. But we do want to give you information on this still. Now, this agrees with the European model, saying November 17th, we can get some accumulating snows in South Dakota. It's just a matter of placement and maybe the timing too. And then it fills it in again a little bit after that into northeastern South Dakota. So the American model seems to be a little more aggressive with filling in our snow chances for South Dakota, extending into North Dakota, really bringing in some heavier snows there.
Yeah, it's playing up a couple of those waves. But boy, oh boy, the rain to the south, I just checked that too. That's several inches of rain in that extended forecast. So keep watching it.
And we'll watch it as well, and we'll be back right after this. Welcome back to Whether or Not. It's time to talk turkey, talk about Thanksgiving week. That is something that we will continue to follow.
Nice.
Had to bring those in. We are looking at some colder air that is on its way. Not necessarily for maybe the beginning of next week, but sooner or later. It's a phrase that we've used before, Brian. It's delay but not denied with this cold air. Because I think yesterday it was trying to bring it in maybe a little sooner, and it's delayed it a little. We'll see if it continues to get delayed or not. But we'll continue to follow it, of course. What is going on right now with our temperatures? Now, a little bit ago, I did mention that the average high temperature in Sioux Falls for Thanksgiving Day is 39, November 27th. 39 is our climate average high. Now, the European AI model is suggesting that we can have temperatures by 3 in the afternoon in the low to middle 30s. Okay, maybe a little bit below average for the high, the low temperature may end up being a little bit above average, and that's the reason why when we were showing you that temperature trend map, that it was still trying to bring in these above average temperatures in eastern South Dakota. It's that overnight low that will probably end up staying above its average. But during the day, we'll see if this holds true with afternoon highs in the 20s and the 30s. So we do have some colder air on the way. And what else is going on, Brian?
Well, and to kind of feed into that story, so when we look at the jet stream, this is just the raw data on the jet stream. Remember, the jet is think of this as the current of air in the upper levels of the atmosphere. So it's governing the direction of these patterns of storms. What we see here, Scott, though, at the beginning, this is going into this weekend. So there's that first system we talked about. This up here, this is your main polar jet, so it's kind of hanging off to the north, which is fine. That's what we would expect at this point in the forecast. And then, of course, we go down the road here, and it looks like right now this pattern going into next week, well, again, buckling jet. Let's see how much of this digs across the southwest, and then eventually we kind of open the door to some of that colder air that's getting pushed out of Alaska.
And you could see that system in Canada that's helping it more or less drag that cold air down, too.
Oh, absolutely. And let me just do this for a minute here. I'm going to bring back my telestrator. But the fact of the matter is, you look at this pattern, and, man, you've got a lot of waviness here to this. You've got this up here going down, coming back around. In my opinion, that really lends itself toward, some interesting changes in the weather. Anytime you get blocking features that do that, now we're not talking about zonal flow anymore.
And that date is the 26th, Thanksgiving Eve.
It is, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't intentionally pause on that, but I thought, yeah, that's an interesting map. So what does that mean for travel and all the things I'm sure people are kind of wondering about? Well, again, our cautionary mode is that we just kind of watch this stuff, and at this point, we'll come back tomorrow. We'll see if we see any more trends here. I do, though, see a lot of the reasoning why we're so hefty on the rain to our south, because, man, the polar jet and the subtropical really there in the forecast.
So a lot to watch as we get into the second half of the month. Thank you for watching this latest edition of Whether or Not. Have yourself a great day.